At some point in your dating or relationship journey, you've probably asked yourself this frustrating question. Why is he ignoring me? One moment everything seems to be going well. He's attentive, texting back, making plans, and showing interest. Then suddenly he goes quiet. The calls slow down, the messages get shorter, or worse, he disappears altogether. This silence can feel confusing, hurtful, and even panic-inducing, leaving you wondering what went wrong. But here's the truth. When a man ignores you, it isn't always about rejection. In fact, his silence often reveals more about his own emotions, mindset, and circumstances than it does about you. Many women automatically assume they've done something wrong, or that his interest is gone. But in reality, there are deeper psychological reasons behind why men pull away. Some men withdraw because they're overwhelmed with stress or responsibilities, and retreating into silence is their way of coping. Others ignore as a form of testing boundaries, wanting to see how much you'll chase, how much effort you'll put in, or how secure you are in yourself. And sometimes, yes, his distance can signal a loss of attraction or emotional investment, but even then, understanding the real motive behind his behavior is the key to responding with strength, rather than desperation. That's what this video is all about, breaking down the real reasons men ignore women, so you can stop second-guessing yourself and finally have clarity. Instead of reacting with fear, chasing, or over-explaining, you'll learn how to stay grounded, confident, and high value in the moments that matter most. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what his silence means, and more importantly, how to handle it in a way that keeps your power and your self-worth intact. When a man goes silent, it can feel like one of the most confusing and frustrating experiences for a woman. Silence speaks louder than words sometimes, and yet it leaves you with no explanation, no closure, and no idea of what he's really feeling. To understand this, you need to step into the psychology of men and the way they process emotions differently from women. While many women use communication as a way to connect, process, and release feelings, men often turn to silence as a coping mechanism. For many men, retreating into quietness isn't about punishing you or even about not caring. It's about having the space to process what they are experiencing internally. One common reason behind silence is stress. When men face pressure from work, money, family, or personal struggles, they may withdraw into themselves because they don't want to appear weak or burden others with their problems. This pulling away is often misunderstood by women as rejection, when in fact it's a man's way of regaining his sense of control. Silence in this case is about self-preservation. Another layer of male psychology is that silence can sometimes be a subconscious test. A man may want to see how much you value yourself in moments of distance. Will you chase him endlessly, blowing up his phone and demanding answers, or will you remain calm, confident, and self-assured? The way you respond to his silence can actually determine whether he grows in respect and attraction for you, or begins to lose it. Men are instinctively drawn to women who can stay composed and secure, even when things feel uncertain, because it shows emotional maturity and self-worth. Of course, silence can also signal disinterest. Sometimes, when a man loses emotional connection or attraction, instead of being direct, he simply withdraws. This doesn't always come from a cruel place. Many men struggle to communicate their feelings openly and fear hurting you, so they choose avoidance. While painful, this silence is important information for you. It tells you that his level of investment may no longer align with yours, and that knowledge empowers you to make choices about whether to continue or walk away. There's also a psychological factor rooted in masculine energy itself. Men are naturally wired to value independence and problem-solving. Silence can be their way of going to their cave, to work through emotions or decisions privately. For women, this can feel like rejection, but for men, it's often simply a return to their natural rhythm. Understanding this can help you shift your perspective and stop personalizing his withdrawal. At the core, the psychology behind silence is about control, space, and self-protection. It's not always about you, but it always gives you a choice in how you respond. If you can see his silence as a window into his state of mind, rather than a reflection of your worth, you'll avoid the trap of chasing and overcompensating. Instead, you'll hold your power, allowing him the space to return, or showing you clearly that he doesn't deserve your energy. One of the hardest things to figure out when a man pulls away is whether his silence comes from stress or from a genuine loss of interest. On the surface, both look almost identical. He stops texting as much, he seems distracted, and he doesn't put in the same level of effort. But underneath, the psychology and the motives are completely different. Understanding this difference is crucial because it determines how you should respond. If it's stress, chasing or pressuring him will only push him further into his shell. If it's loss of interest, waiting around and excusing his behavior only lowers your value and wastes your time. When a man is dealing with stress, it usually has nothing to do with you. He could be overwhelmed at work, dealing with financial concerns, or carrying personal responsibilities that weigh heavily on his shoulders. Many men are conditioned to believe that they must solve their problems alone, and that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness. In these cases, silence becomes their way of regaining control and focusing on problem solving. He's not ignoring you because he doesn't care. He's stepping back because he doesn't know how to balance everything at once. You might notice signs such as him still checking in occasionally, showing appreciation when you give him space, or coming back around once the stress passes. Loss of interest, however, has a different energy. A man who is no longer emotionally invested will slowly reduce his effort, but this time it's not about external pressure, it's about his feelings toward you or the relationship. He may stop initiating contact altogether, avoid making future plans, or give vague excuses for his absence. Unlike stress, where there's usually a return once the storm clears, loss of interest leads to a pattern of distance that doesn't resolve on its own. You may feel like you're doing all the work to keep the connection alive, and no matter how much effort you put in, his energy doesn't match yours. The challenge is not to confuse the two. A stressed man may still show small signs of care, liking your posts, sending short but warm replies, or explaining that he's busy. A man who has lost interest often becomes emotionally flat, cold, or indifferent, and you'll feel the lack of genuine effort. The most important thing to remember is that both scenarios require you to stand in your value. If it's stress, respect his need for space without abandoning your own needs. Show patience but don't overgive. If it's disinterest, don't chase, beg, or try to fix the situation. Accept the truth, and walk away with confidence. At the end of the day, whether his silence comes from stress or from a loss of attraction, your response should always reflect your self-worth. A high-value woman doesn't lose herself in confusion. She observes, she decides, and she protects her energy. This clarity not only saves you time and heartache, but also ensures you attract a man who truly values and respects you. When a man pulls back or becomes distant, sometimes it's not about stress or losing interest. It's about testing you. This might sound strange, but many men subconsciously test women to see how they'll react under pressure. A man wants to know if you're genuinely confident in yourself, if you'll respect your own boundaries, and if you'll stay composed when things don't go exactly how you expect. These tests aren't usually planned. They come from instinct. Deep down, men are wired to seek out women who embody strength, patience, and emotional maturity. And testing is one way they figure out if you fit that standard. One common sign he's testing you is when he suddenly delays his responses to your calls or messages. Instead of replying right away like he used to, he takes hours or even a day. The test here is simple. Will you blow up his phone, accuse him, or spiral into panic? Or will you stay calm, continue living your life, and show that you're not dependent on constant reassurance? Men respect women who don't collapse emotionally just because communication slows down. Another sign is when he cancels plans at the last minute or becomes inconsistent with his effort. While this can sometimes be a red flag of disinterest, in other cases it's a way to gauge your reaction. If you lash out, beg for his time, or lower your standards just to keep him happy, you fail the test. But if you calmly express your value by not tolerating repeated flakiness and maintain your standards, you show him you're not someone he can take for granted. A more subtle test happens when he brings up another woman casually in conversation, maybe a coworker, a friend, or even an ex. This doesn't always mean he's interested in her. Often it's about watching how you react. Do you become jealous, insecure, and competitive? Or do you stay secure in your worth, knowing that another woman doesn't threaten you because you don't see yourself in competition? Confidence in these moments speaks volumes. Men may also test your boundaries by pushing small limits. This could be showing up late, ignoring a request you made, or teasing you in ways that border on disrespect. The question he's silently asking is, will you let it slide, or will you hold firm to your boundaries? A high-value woman knows how to set limits without drama, making it clear what she will and won't accept. That kind of response earns deep respect. The truth is, when a man tests you, he's really looking for reassurance about who you are at your core. He wants to see if you're confident enough to stay composed, independent enough not to beg, and strong enough to walk away if you're not being valued. If you react with desperation or insecurity, he'll see you as easy to manipulate. But if you respond with calm self-assurance, you pass his test with flying colors and increase his attraction toward you. When a man begins to pull away, the natural instinct for many women is to close the gap by chasing, questioning, or trying harder to win back his attention. But the truth is, these reactions almost always backfire and push him further away. Knowing what not to do in these moments is just as important as knowing how to respond correctly. The biggest mistake you can make when he pulls away is over-pursuing. Calling him repeatedly, sending multiple texts, or trying to corner him into giving you answers doesn't create connection, it creates pressure. Men are highly sensitive to feeling suffocated, and when you chase, he doesn't feel closer to you. He feels the need to escape even more. Another common mistake is assuming blame. Many women immediately jump to conclusions that they did something wrong, which leads to apologizing excessively, over-explaining, or lowering their standards just to keep the man interested. This behavior communicates insecurity and desperation, which only diminishes your value in his eyes. If he's pulling back because of stress, he doesn't need you to make yourself smaller. He needs space. And if he's losing interest, apologizing for simply being yourself won't reignite his attraction. It will only confirm to him that you don't value yourself enough. Trying to manipulate or guilt him into coming closer is another trap to avoid. This includes giving ultimatums, throwing emotional outbursts, or using passive-aggressive tactics to get his attention. While it might get a short-term reaction, it erodes respect and long-term attraction. A man who feels controlled or guilt-tripped will resist even more strongly, and instead of drawing him in, you'll push him further away emotionally. Another damaging response is abandoning your own life to focus entirely on him. Some women, when they feel distance, stop prioritizing their goals, hobbies, and friendships, waiting around anxiously for his next move. This is the fastest way to lose your feminine energy and magnetism. A man is far more drawn to a woman who continues to live fully and confidently, even when he steps back. If you put your entire world on hold for him, you teach him that he can disappear whenever he wants, and you'll still be waiting. Finally, one of the most overlooked mistakes is lowering your boundaries just to keep him. When he pulls away, you might accept less effort, tolerate behavior you'd normally find disrespectful, or convince yourself you're asking for too much. This doesn't make him appreciate you, it makes him realize he can give you the bare minimum and still have your attention. Men respect and desire women who know their worth and won't settle for scraps of affection. The key lesson here is that your reaction to his withdrawal determines whether attraction deepens or dies. If you chase, overgive, or lose yourself in the process, you confirm his decision to pull back. But if you stay calm, grounded, and continue valuing yourself, you either inspire him to step up or create space for someone better to come into your life. When a man pulls away or goes silent, your greatest power lies in how you choose to respond. This is where feminine energy becomes your most valuable tool. Feminine energy is not about chasing, proving, or demanding. It's about leaning back, staying grounded in your worth, and allowing space for him to come toward you. Instead of reacting with fear or trying to force connection, you embody calmness, openness, and self-respect. This response not only preserves your dignity, but also reignites his attraction, because men are naturally drawn to women who know how to remain centered in uncertain moments. Responding with feminine energy begins with restraint. Rather than blowing up his phone or demanding answers, you give him the gift of space. Silence does not mean indifference. It means you trust yourself enough not to force what doesn't need forcing. When you step back, you show him that you're not dependent on his validation for your emotional balance. That sense of inner stability is magnetic to men because it communicates confidence without words. Another way to embody feminine energy is through self-focus. Instead of obsessing about where he is or what he's thinking, you pour your energy back into yourself, your goals, your passions, your friendships, your health, your joy. A woman who continues to glow and thrive, even when a man steps back, is irresistible, because she radiates independence and self-love. Men are instinctively drawn to women who live fulfilling lives outside of the relationship, as it signals she is with him by choice, not out of need. Emotional control is also key. Feminine energy is not about suppressing your feelings, but about expressing them with grace and softness. If he does reach out, you don't attack him or guilt him. Instead, you share your truth calmly and authentically. For example, instead of saying, "You never call me anymore," you might say, "I really enjoy hearing from you, and I've missed our connection." This shows vulnerability without pressure, and men respond positively to that combination of honesty and softness. Responding with feminine energy also means not trying to solve his problems for him. Men value their independence, and when you rush in to fix everything, you step into masculine energy, which creates imbalance. By staying in your feminine, you allow him to work through his struggles, while you remain a steady, supportive presence. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means offering warmth and understanding while holding on to your own boundaries. Most importantly, feminine energy is about trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your value, and trust in the natural flow of connection. When you know you are worthy of love and respect, you don't panic when a man pulls away. You recognize that his actions are a reflection of him, not a measure of your worth. And that quiet confidence is exactly what makes him return with stronger desire. When a man creates distance, most women see it as a threat to the relationship and respond with panic. But what many don't realize is that distance, when handled correctly, can actually become an opportunity to build even stronger attraction. Instead of seeing his withdrawal as rejection, you can use it as a powerful moment to shift the dynamic in your favor. Men are naturally drawn to what they feel they could lose, and when you handle his distance with grace, confidence, and high-value energy, you turn the space he created into a magnet that pulls him back to you even harder. The first step to turning distance into attraction is detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You let go of the urge to control, fix, or force the connection, and instead lean into trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your worth, and trust that the right man will always circle back. By not reacting with desperation, you communicate silently that you are a woman who cannot be shaken by temporary changes. That calm, self-assured presence stands out in a world where most people panic at the first sign of distance. The second step is self-prioritization. When he pulls away, you redirect your focus back to your own world. You invest in your goals, your friendships, your passions, and your personal growth. This not only keeps your energy high, but also makes you more attractive, because men are drawn to women who radiate independence and fulfillment. When he sees that you're still thriving, glowing, and living fully without him, he feels the pull to be a part of your world again. Distance makes him wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and how you can be so content without his constant attention. Another key factor is maintaining mystery. When you don't over-explain yourself or flood him with updates, you allow curiosity to build. Men are wired to pursue, and curiosity fuels their desire to close the gap. If you remain graceful and composed but not overly available, he will naturally feel the urge to move back toward you to regain closeness. Equally important is holding your boundaries. When he does return, don't immediately reward him with unlimited access if he hasn't earned it. Make sure his effort matches yours, and that he comes back with respect, consistency, and genuine intention. This teaches him that distance doesn't mean he can disappear without consequences, but that he must value and prioritize you if he wants to be close again. By shifting your perspective, his distance stops being something to fear and becomes something you can use to strengthen the connection. When you respond with detachment, self-focus, mystery, and boundaries, you transform that uncomfortable silence into a powerful attraction tool. He will feel not only the absence of your presence, but also the magnetic pull of your confidence and energy, and that combination makes him want to chase you again with renewed passion. Raising your standards and cultivating self-worth is one of the most transformative steps you can take in dating and relationships. Many women unknowingly lower their value by tolerating behavior that doesn't serve them, chasing men who aren't fully invested, or settling for inconsistent effort. When a man pulls away, it's the perfect moment to reflect on what you truly deserve and to reinforce the standards that define your worth. High-value women don't compromise their self-respect to keep someone close. Instead, they use every interaction, especially challenging ones, to strengthen their sense of confidence and self-love. Understanding your self-worth begins with recognizing that your value is inherent, not dependent on a man's attention or affection. If you allow your emotions to be dictated by his availability, you hand over your power. A man may come and go, but your sense of identity, confidence, and self-esteem should remain intact. When you internalize this truth, you approach relationships from a place of abundance, not desperation, which instantly elevates your attractiveness. Men are naturally drawn to women who exude self-assurance, because it signals emotional stability, independence, and strength. Raising your standards means being clear about what you will and will not accept. If he is distant, inconsistent, or disrespectful, you must hold firm to your boundaries, instead of making excuses or lowering your expectations. This doesn't make you rigid or unkind. It makes you a woman who knows her value and refuses to settle for less. High-value women understand that love and respect go hand in hand, and they never allow anyone to erode their self-worth for temporary comfort or attention. By staying firm in your standards, you create an environment where a man must step up or show you that he isn't worth your energy. Part of raising your standards is also raising your self-investment. This means dedicating time and energy to your own goals, growth, and happiness, rather than relying on someone else to validate you. When you are thriving independently, you naturally become more magnetic. A man notices when a woman has ambition, confidence, and a fulfilling life outside of him, and it triggers both respect and desire. The more you prioritize yourself, the less you tolerate behavior that undermines your worth. Another important aspect is emotional accountability. High-value women don't play games or manipulate to keep a man interested. Instead, they communicate clearly, act consistently, and lead with integrity. This combination of strength and authenticity creates a magnetic pull that keeps the right men invested, while naturally filtering out those who are unwilling or incapable of meeting your standards. Ultimately, raising your standards and self-worth is about choosing yourself first. It's about recognizing that no man defines your value, and that your time, energy, and love are precious. When you embody this level of confidence and self-respect, you not only protect yourself from heartache, but also create the conditions for a healthy, loving, and mutually respectful relationship. By reinforcing your boundaries and valuing yourself, you attract the kind of man who is worthy of the woman you've become. At the end of the day, the way a man behaves, whether he pulls away, ignores, or distances himself, does not define your worth. One of the most empowering shifts you can make in dating is to recognize that your value is constant, regardless of his attention or actions. When you embrace this truth, you stop reacting out of fear, desperation, or insecurity, and instead respond from a place of strength, clarity, and self-respect. This mindset allows you to maintain control of your emotions and energy, which is incredibly attractive to men. An empowering mindset starts with self-awareness. Understanding your triggers, what makes you feel anxious when he pulls away, and learning how to regulate your emotional responses is essential. Instead of spiraling into overthinking or chasing behaviors, you take a step back and observe the situation objectively. You ask yourself, is his behavior a reflection of his current struggles, or is it a sign that he isn't fully invested? This clarity enables you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, protecting your energy and preserving your dignity. Another key component is detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or that you emotionally shut down. It means you release the need to control the outcome. You recognize that you cannot force a man to act a certain way, and that trying to do so only diminishes your power. By staying detached, You create a sense of mystery and confidence, allowing him the space to come back on his own terms, while you continue living your life fully. Self-respect and boundaries go hand in hand with this mindset. A high-value woman knows that her time, energy, and emotional investment are precious. She does not tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or behavior that undermines her value. Instead, she communicates clearly, stands firm in her boundaries, and prioritizes herself without guilt. This clarity sends a powerful message: you are worthy of love, attention, and respect, and you will not settle for anything less. Finally, an empowering mindset is about embracing your own life and growth. Pursuing your goals, passions, and happiness independently not only strengthens your self-worth, but also makes you magnetic. Men are naturally drawn to women who radiate confidence, joy, and independence. When you operate from this place, you attract relationships that are healthy, balanced, and fulfilling, while also creating the resilience to navigate challenges with grace. Ultimately, your mindset determines the energy you project, the choices you make, and the relationships you attract. By staying grounded, confident, and self-aware, you step into your highest value, ensuring that you draw in the right people while maintaining your power and self-respect.